So let's go ahead and bring our first speaker to the stage. I want to introduce Senior Product Designer Lucia Kubinska. Hi, Lucia.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Chuck.
Hey, so I know you are a designer on the Recommend team, and I know you've got some very interesting things to kind of tell us about different patterns for using recommendations.
That's exactly that. Yes, let's do it. Hello, everyone. I am Lucia, Senior Product Designer at Algolia. I've been with the company for more than 5 years, and besides working on Team Recommend, I've also led and participated in something we call the UX Office Hours, where we help our customers with implementing best search and discovery experiences. Which is why today we'll be discussing not only some recommendation basics, but also interesting design patterns for recommendations that you can use in your next project. But first things first, let's start with the basics. What are recommendations? Simply put, they are suggestions of products, articles, or content to shoppers, visitors, or users. Imagine if there were no recommendations in any form, like this screenshot of Amazon.com homepage. This would leave the visitor in a difficult spot. They would need to know exactly what to do next, or what exactly to search for, or use the navigation to explore what's on menu item by item. Luckily, if you have recommendations in place, they can inspire people to make useful additional purchases or choose a better product or find content that is related and relevant in a smooth, frictionless journey. It allows your visitors to simply discover more in a better way. There's good reasons why so many websites and apps contain some sort of recommendations. It has big impact on business. They help build customer loyalty and improve the experience, leading to conversions. It's said that 35% of Amazon's revenue comes from product recommendations, and 75% of what people watch on Netflix stems from suggested content. How are recommendations built? In my experience, there are 3 main levels of what recommendations can be. First, it's human-controlled recommendations based on subjective decisions, rules, and parameters. An example could be a carousel simply made of products that are from the same category within similar price range and from the same brand. There is no machine learning behind such recommendations, and they might be less relevant. Second, much more mature, there's machine learning models that can be trained on events, user behavior, content, and image similarity that suggest relevant items. Over time, models learn more and can react dynamically to change of situations, for example, change of buying patterns in a holiday season. This would take a lot more effort if maintained manually, like in the first case. And third, personalized recommendations that take into account users' specific needs and likes, and can re-rank recommended items based on these additional signals. Let's discuss recommendations and personalization, because oftentimes I've seen that these 2 words are used interchangeably, but in fact both require a different approach and could be used in different ways, but also together. I'll try to illustrate how you can think about these layers of relevance. Anyway, on a website or app, you may have a search functionality that purely relies on objective relevance. You can have recommendations powered by a machine learning model, then some navigation, content, and so on. These 4 pieces of experience can be generic, based on wide audience signals or prescribed business logic. Thanks to models or algorithms, these can already work quite well without knowing anything specific about your user, hence without personalization. But what if we did have some personalization capabilities? By personalization, I mean information about the user, their profile consisting of information such as their likes and dislikes based on past purchases, their location, buying power. In this case, personalization is a layer on top of the 4 experiences. Which brings us to the combined power. You can provide personalized search results, personalized recommendations, personalized navigation, content, and so on. Even if the base models were already relevant, the personalization layer might re-rank the items, be it products or articles or movies, to better match the visitor's taste. Therefore, recommendations can exist without personalization, but can be improved by such layer. This differentiation allows companies to react appropriately to markets or users who are more sensitive to personalization. In other words, in some cases, you may want to offer recommendations without personalization signals. You can use recommendations across the whole user journey. Here's a quick overview of an e-commerce website, spanning from homepage through category and product listing pages, product detail page, checkout. Recommendations can also work well when a user jumps into a search flow. If we imagine a media app similar to Netflix, most of these are recommendations picked for you, trending within a country, popular and trending genres, and so on. Let's talk about models now. Unfortunately, I only have a few minutes for this talk, and there are so many to mention. So just know that you can choose from a variety of models, and this highly depends on your use case. Are you e-commerce selling electronics or clothing? Are you media serving videos or music, or a news website with articles? Or a vintage marketplace? Let's have a look at a few examples that show both the models used and also how they're displayed on the front end. In e-commerce, the most popular models, I guess, would be the frequently bought together and similar items. I'm sure you have seen these. Products shown in rather basic carousels. The product detail page on Amazon is so filled with recommendations that it's so tiny as a full screenshot that it's not even the full page shown here in my presentation. However, an example how you can leverage the alternative items model is a comparison chart. Simply show the most relevant alternatives and list attributes that help your visitors choose the best make and model. My colleague Maria created a guide on how you can create a similar experience. News website Guardian seems to be using a related content model to show articles that are similar to the one I'm reading. Carousels are displayed at the bottom of the page. The first one clearly includes articles about Formula One. However, to provide more variety and invite readers to explore more content, the second carousel features more articles from sports. Netflix homepage basically only includes carousels, and then some more carousels. From personalized, picked for you titles through new releases to trending shows within a geolocation. In this case, it's just the thumbnail that truly needs to sell a recommendation. E-commerce giant Zalando also wants to provide variety on their homepage, and research group Baymart confirms that a good homepage should provide such variety to display breadth of a catalog right away. As a somewhat negative point though, it's interesting to see that when an item is out of stock, they don't provide recommendations that would feature cardigans that are visually similar but would be available right away. However, on some other items, like an outdoor jacket in this case, they provide several carousels, complete the look, recommended similar jackets, products from the same brand, and also a winning combo carousel. that show other complementary items such as pants or outdoor pouches. Another great example of a complete the X kind of carousel here on Sephora that helps shoppers add products to their cart that complete a hair care routine. Staples is using the trending model to inspire visitors after they have scrolled through a category page. And Cabinet Parts is leveraging a model that uses image similarity to suggest shop-similar style products. This model doesn't require any events because it only looks at the image data. Paul-Louis will tell you more about this model in his talk. Now I have a few tips for you when implementing recommendations. Don't cannibalize your experience with recommendations. They can sometimes hurt the overall experience. Yes, you might see metric upticks in individual carousels, but maybe the page conversions dropped. Example, placing alternative products in the checkout phase of a user journey. You don't want your customers to second guess their choice when they are so close to finishing the purchase, right? Instead, you can include a carousel of items that are complementary and will help your shopper to easily reach a minimum order value to get free shipping, which is a common conversion optimization strategy. I also invite you to experiment with the position of a carousel within a page. Placing alternative items too close to the original item may get your user stuck in a loop of decision paralysis. It's generally recommended to place such carousels more to the bottom of the page when it's rather clear that the visitor is scrolling, taking more time to decide, and would really consider other suggestions. One of the most important things in making recommendations engines successful and relevant is, you guessed it, data. The cleaner and more quality signals you feed the model, the better the output. Needless to say, volume of data also impacts output confidence. My colleagues will have a talk dedicated to discussing events, so I highly recommend watching that one too. But at this point, because I'm a designer, I'd like to mention a small anecdote about how UX can impact quality of recommendations, and that sometimes you need a bit of detective work to ensure great outcomes. Customers reported a few times that a frequently put together model returned results that didn't make sense. For example, a king-sized bed and the suggested items to buy with it were more beds. Like, what? Do people really buy several styles of beds at the same time together? Or is the model going crazy? Well, no. It's because the model takes into consideration all kinds of conversion events, such as add to cart, if a customer decides to track it as conversion. But why would shoppers put these beds in the cart together in the first place? Any guesses? Sadly, I cannot see the chat. It brings us back to the UX of the website itself. After a bit of detective work, we found out that in order to create a wish list or short list of beds, a visitor had to create an account, which is tedious. But they didn't need to create an account to start adding items to the shopping cart. In the end, visitors were using the shopping cart as a short list of favorite products, thus making the model think that they were interested in buying them together. Now, I know that this event is called DevBit, and I barely talked about engineering, but I hope you'll find these key points useful when you next discuss recommendation and discovery experiences with your customers, product managers, designers, or business partners. Recommendations are good for user experience. Recommendations are not personalization, but personalized recommendations are a thing. Depending on your use case, explore and choose the right models to assist your users. Wrongly placed carousels can hurt the overall experience, so experiment and see what's best. And last, make sure models are trained on quality data and events. I guess that's it from me today. With this, I hand it back to you, Chuck. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Lucia. I love this presentation. I love all of the insights that you're providing. My biggest takeaway, of course, is data, data, data. Data for feeding the recommendation models, data for tracking the effect that the recommendations are having on your website. If you're going to be a recommendation person, you got to be a data person, got to be a data nerd.
Absolutely, that's right.
So, and I know you're kind of mostly focused on sort of the design on the front end side, but I was just curious, do you have any tips for tracking the effect of those recommendations? Is it really just the same tools that you would be using to track conversions and all of the regular things that you would track in your website? Are there any additional tools that can help with looking to see if a recommendation is having an impact?
I guess this is mostly it, but it needs to be connected with what I call the detective work. So we can all look at the data. The question is, how do we interpret it? So
Mm-hmm.
A/B test, experiment, see what works best, but with the usual tools.
That makes sense. And we actually have an anonymous question. I'm just going to read this. Are carousels always the best UI way of presenting recommendations? I know we saw some carousel experiences. Are there other ways to reflect recommendations into your site?
Oh, absolutely. And I guess the obvious answer is it depends. Carousels are the most used ones. That's right. But for example, to show the outfit, it's great to show clothing in a different way. Yeah, there are just so many patterns, and I guess we can link some resources for this. But there are recommendations are everywhere, right? So hard to say without knowing your use case.
Yeah, I've seen some amazing presentations. I'll have to see if I can find it later, where kind of shows drilling from every page, from your landing page all the way to that last minute right before you make the purchase. There are opportunities to inject recommendations in. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lucia, for your time. I found this very valuable, and we're going to go ahead and make room for our next set of presenters. So thank you.